All right, today on the club, you're getting a two-man weave with me and Andy. Pete's out there doing everything he can. Clay is recovering from his bachelor party. Who knows what Settleman's up to? But we will hold down the fort here on the club. We got the NBA playoffs, not a dramatic conference finals here as we head to a couple of sweeps. We'll break that down, talk a little bit about our underdog playoff teams, also a little Best Ball Mania 4 talk, and also some big news in Andy's world with some of his crypto projects. We're going to get the lowdown from him on that all today on the club. Andy, do you like the chaos of the NBA playoffs, the league not getting what they want with Celtics Lakers, or are you feeling pretty uninspired about a Nuggets Heat final?
I mean, I think it's fun. Like, I don't know, at this point, it's hard to say like, oh, it's too bad it's the Heat because I want it to be a good series, because I feel like that's, after you make it to the finals, you have to just kind of assume that they're going to give the Nuggets at least a bit of a challenge. But like a part of me still is like, oh, I wish it was a team where I think they'd have more of a chance to beat them. But I think the Nuggets might just be really, really good to where it doesn't totally matter who they're playing or anything like that. But I don't know. I mean, it's been interesting. It's fun to at least like, I feel like these playoffs are at least going to cause a lot of drama in the in the off season, whatever that looks like, and so that'll be kind of fun.
What ended up being your final take on the Celtics? Because man, they got the Western Conference served up to them on a silver platter, and I went to that game one against the Sixers a few weeks back when they didn't have Embiid. They looked so flat
and
and
Harden
bad.
dropped like 45 or whatever.
Yeah, and then they just keep dropping stuff. Like, so I assume, is your take they were just revealed as fraudulent? Did they just get cold at the wrong time? Like, because a lot of people were high on them for large stretches of the season.
Yeah, I don't know. They basically have the entire same returning cast as last year. And honestly, like a better team. And they almost won the finals last year. So I think it's hard to say that they're fraudulent, and like maybe more so just that they, maybe they overperformed last year or they're underperforming this year. It seems, I really don't think that, and this is not a hot take, that their coach is doing that good of a job and it's a different coach. Yeah, like John just said, and Chip, yeah, it's he's been really outcoached, I think, in this series. But Spo has really outcoached everyone. But it seems like there's some pretty big, to me, it seems mostly like an internal blow up more than like their skill isn't good enough to get there. There's some Woj stuff today about how apparently the team never really accepted, like the players never really accepted Ime Udoka being fired and felt like they didn't really get closure there, and it didn't make sense. And I know everyone really liked him. It seems like Jaylen Brown isn't super happy. And so I think it might just be like a lot of drama. Everyone's checked out. As opposed to like, I don't think that it's that their skill level wise, they are not good enough to get there. Yeah. I think it's more like just the personalities aren't meshing and all of that.
It is kind of crazy, like with how much stuff they had going on last year with the losing their head coach. And it almost seemed like, hey, even as a casual fan, I was like, wow, the fact that they're still this good, that they didn't miss a beat, just changing coaching. But it did seem like, when are the times that coaching really comes to matter? It's in the playoffs, in tight series, when rotations really matter, and all of those little micro edges. And then to juxtapose it against a guy, like you said, Spoelstra, who's been one of the best coaches in the league for like a decade now. It is interesting, like, to frame this as, well, the whole Emmy thing, the Roosters, finally came home there.
Yeah, it seems to me like that's what the case is. And I think like it's obvious that Tatum can have the games where he's the guy and drops 50, but he also kind of seems like he can disappear. Jaylen Brown's had an awful, awful series and not really that good of a playoffs in general. And so I think like it's a bit of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But
In
I think it also is just like the league was pretty flat this year, or at least feels like it was now that we kind of look back. Um, I don't know. It's a surprising one.
Yeah, and then what it sounds like your assessment of the Heat are like a fun story running hot, but still might just be completely outclassed by the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, like at this point, I am apprehensive to say, anything negative about the Heat because every series it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
I doubt they do it again, and then they just keep doing it. So like, kind of take it with a grain of salt. But the Nuggets team is just really, really, really good. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think it's probably less even me at this point discrediting the Heat and more just after watching them annihilate everyone they've played in the West. Um, More so just being like, I'm not sure any team would beat them. Doesn't matter how good the Heat is.
It's also interesting. I'm just looking at kind of the odds, and obviously the market is assuming the Heat are going to win. But I'm seeing Nuggets minus 300, NBA championship, Heat plus 260. So it does seem like the Nuggets are still going to open as like pretty big favorites here.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But I mean, who knows? This will be every Denver player's first, not every, but almost all the major Denver players, other than like KCP's first finals. It's not like they have a ton of playoff experience. So, not all these Heat players, but a lot of the Heat players played in the finals in the bubble against the Lakers. Um, so I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Jimmy Butler is just unstoppable again, and the Heat guys keep one of the big things is like the Heat have just been shooting an insane number from three and just like in general. Um, and with the way the basketball is, if you go into a 7-game series and you can shoot 45% from three for the 7-game series, like you can beat anybody. So
What's the latest? Is Tyler Hero going to be back?
I don't know. I saw some rumors about that. I saw like that he's out of a cast or something like that. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure it really changes very much, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I think a lot of these guys have been playing a lot better in getting more minutes and like kind of being able to step out from just being a role player. But if he came back, I mean, I doubt it would hurt their chances. But we'll see. I haven't seen too much other than that he like got his cast taken off.
Yeah. Man, it's killing. I was reminiscing the other day because, the last time the Nuggets were in the Western Conference Finals, it was '09, and I remembered it vividly because I had just graduated from college. I was driving home listening to those games on the radio, and then I went to game 6 at the Pepsi Center to watch just Kobe and Pau just absolutely eviscerate the Nuggets in a game 6, and they were just such a better team. That was when the Nuggets were kind of sun running there with the last iteration of that like Chauncey team. And now to just see them look so dominant and then stomp the Lakers, where it's kind of like turned now where they're now have a little bit more veteran presence. I wish I felt something like I did back in '09 when I was just absolutely obsessed, because this is a really cool moment for the Nuggets franchise if they could win this. Because as you've seen it with so many of these stars, or you kind of see what Dallas is dealing with Luka right now, where you worry about these windows. I know my cousin, the GM of the Trailblazers, like constantly thinking about it with Damian Lillard and that franchise window closing. And so the Nuggets are able to sneak one in here with Jokic. Like that'll be such a nice cherry on this era.
Oh yeah, totally. And I mean, like, what's kind of crazy about it for them is it's not like they have some insane super team or they didn't have to bring in three superstars and people who are ring chasing. They just like have a really solid set of guys around Jokic. Um, and so as long as they have Murray and Jokic and some of these other role players, if Jokic is going to put up like 30, 12, and 12 every game, I don't see why they couldn't keep winning and have more success. It's not like he's super old or anything. But like you said, yeah, it's so hard to win. It'd be nice to see him get one. I feel like it's a very likable team to win the finals.
Yeah.
Them and the Heat, honestly, I feel like no one's going to be upset either way with one of those teams winning.
Yeah, because the Nuggets don't even have like really any villains on the team, right? Is there anyone on the Nuggets that fans just in general like really hate?
Not really, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, Jokic is likable. Jamal Murray seems fine. They don't really have any like Draymond Green-esque like dirty players or anything like that.
No. Yeah, no, I think Jokic is probably one of the higher approval rating like star players in the league. He
Yeah.
People like complain to the refs sometimes or something, but like overall he's pretty likable.
Yeah. Did you have do you have any dance teams that are cooking here?
Not really. I should have taken more of my own advice because I feel like I was telling you about drafting all the Heat players, and I just didn't do it as
Yeah.
much as I should have.
Dude,
I have
that's what
one team that might make the finals, but I didn't even get max entries in, so
yeah, you were too
it is what
busy
it
on
is.
the dailies to fire. And I was like the opposite.
Yeah,
I wasn't as into the dailies, but got completely obsessed with the dance. But it does go to show like, and I think people need to remember this too for like best ball stuff. And we get like so excited about our exposures. And like if you looked at my exposures on I did 104 dance drafts, you would have thought I was winning this damn contest because I was massively underweight Giannis, massively overweight Jokic, and my two most like rostered late guys were Bam and Jimmy Butler. And it's like, if I told you that right now, you'd be like, oh my God, how many teams do you have? And it's like, I have 4 teams in the semis and I have one that looks like it's going to advance. And it ironically doesn't even have a single Heat on it. It's like a Nuggets Denver stack that has like one, and it's going to be dead because it was a 5 Laker team with 2 Nuggets. And so it's just like, it's not going to be able to field the starting lineup unless the Lakers unless the Lakers had won. So it's one of those things where it's like, it does ultimately come down to teams versus overall exposure.
yeah, yeah. I ended up with 4 left in the semis as well, and my one team that looks like it has a chance to advance. It's not a sure thing, but I have 3 Boston guys going tonight. Um, it's Jamal Murray, and then it was 3 Lakers and 3 Boston, and so it'll be dead unless Boston pulls off the comeback of all comebacks. Um,
Yeah.
but basically, all my teams that were in the finals were Lakers Boston teams. That was like my stack that I ended up with a bunch.
And I assume that because it's pretty doable to get some really good Nuggets Heat teams to the finals. Like you're going to see some teams that have like 7 live players, I would imagine. Maybe not that many.
Yeah, I mean, you could. The interesting thing is like there weren't that many draftable Nuggets players, or I mean, obviously you can draft whoever you want, but like you're taking Jokic, you're taking Jamal Murray, you're taking Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon, and then like sure, some people drafted Bruce Brown or Kentavious Caldwell Pope, and they were going, but I'm not sure. Like I can see that. I would be surprised how many have more than like 6 players live.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I guess that's true because most people who are taking Heat, right, were just taking 2, Jimmy and Bam.
and if they had a third, it was Tyler Hero, who's not
And
playing.
that probably sunk your advance rates.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so you would have probably have wanted to do some kind of lighter Denver stack with that, where you needed Jokic. You want to go what? Jokic, Jamal at like the 1-2, and then
And
you
then probably
strengthen it.
one of the 2 of Murray and Gordon.
Yeah. And then like who would you have needed in between? Because then you have so much flexibility, right? Because it's like Butler and Bam were so cheap late that basically all your mid-round picks you could have just optimized for like advancement, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think probably what you needed, because both the Nuggets and the Heat had pretty short series. The Heat were 5 games, 5 games, and now probably this doesn't matter because both were sweeps, but 5 games and 5 games. And then the Nuggets were 5 games as well. So you didn't get any 6 or 7 game series, I think, if you had a Nuggets Heat stack. So that makes it hard. But Jokic was just putting up so many points
Yeah.
that maybe he could carry a bunch of teams through him if you had him and Jimmy. But you definitely you probably needed to have like a Sacramento Kings guy, like De'Aaron Fox to get through the first round, or like a LeBron or AD to help kind of push you through, because they put up nice points in the second round, or like some Boston guys, or I'm not even sure if Philly guys would have helped. I'm not sure. I'll be curious to see what the like best looking teams are, top performing teams are in these finals. I guess let me look
Yeah.
at my I'm gonna look at my leaderboards and see what we have. We have one guy has Jamal Murray is basically his only guard. He's his only guard who made it through the first round. He had Drew Holiday and Trae Young, Jimmy Butler, Michael Porter, Mikal Bridges, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, Jokic, AD, Julius Randle. And that team is like pretty good, but like it won't be in the finals. It'll have what only can field a team of 4.
Yeah.
And Feed the Freezer is second in my bracket right now. He's who I'm trying to pass tonight.
I just noticed this team, our guy, Paul, I was inverted in my pod. He's not going to advance, but man, he had a Denver Miami stack there where he would have had Jokic, Bam, Butler, Hero, and Jamal Murray there. So those, and then it just stings, right? Because he has Golden State here instead of the Lakers. So if you had the Lakers to push you through to get it, man, that is one of those where you talk about there's some of these contests, right? And maybe even some more the gauntlet with the NFL, where even if you had a crystal ball and you knew the Super Bowl matchup between the Chiefs and Eagles, it would have been pretty hard to still like draft teams that would for sure get there. Whereas if you had a crystal ball that the Nuggets and the Heat were getting there, you would have gotten so many teams through.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a really weird playoffs, I feel like. I don't know. It made me excited to do an NBA best ball regular season for next year. I didn't do any this past season.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, right? Where it's just like the structural parts of it just aren't quite as fun. And I think through all the things that make drafting the NFL teams fun and where some of that is lost a little bit with the NBA, but it does get me wanting to draft though.
Yeah, no, totally. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what.
That's crazy. Mookie says the Heat would be the first team to reach the NBA history or the NBA Finals with a negative point differential across the NBA season to put their run into context. So, wow.
Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely be the worst team to ever make the finals as far as like, most of the stats go. Whether it's like and this doesn't really matter that much, but it was like the lowest points per game team in the regular season. One of like I think this will be the 3rd ever 8 seed to make it, but like not only were they the 8 seed, they also lost a play-in game and almost lost their other play-in game. It's pretty crazy, and so it's interesting too because like this is obviously a pretty outlier finals like combo, or at least on the East side. I'd be curious to see how it influences things for next year and all of that. Like, are people going to reach more for the superstars on play-in teams because of this Heat run or things like that?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that recency bias, and again, I think it carries over far more in NFL a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it is always fascinating how that stuff can play into it. Thank you to Chipsy for letting me know. So if you are looking for this data, you can go into the Underdog Fantasy bot channel and type in Command Dancer 3, and it'll send you this Google sheet. So I'm just checking out the number of teams here who have made it to round 3. So yeah, no surprise here. I guess one surprise is just that Jokic only down at 30% of teams. Anthony Davis looking like one of the biggest chalk players here. 1,170 teams in round 3.
This is percent of remaining teams that have him?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So LeBron, Anthony Davis, Tatum, Butler, D'Angelo Russell, Jalen Brunson was on my team too. He was a guy popping up here on over a third of the teams, which is kind of
Oh
interesting.
yeah, I mean you could get him pretty late. He was not very expensive, and they
Yeah.
had a it was only a 5 game series, but he balled out. Yeah, he was a good one.
It's so funny seeing like this is basically like my entire team on here. Malcolm Brogdon was my one Celtic that I have live on that team. That's obviously going to be dead here soon. James Harden, making sense. Although I guess not having James Harden, I guess you could have had James Harden, Anthony Davis combos. You probably needed Harden with Davis to get that through. I would guess to like beat out the Jokic teams.
Probably.
Trae Young still at 17.5%. It does go to show how much that kind of like studs and duds element too of just getting like one good series from a stud as opposed to like, three good series or three shitty, from a shitty
Yeah,
player or
I
whatever.
mean getting 6 games from him in the first round as a last round pick in the
Yeah.
draft is huge.
Yup. I'm trying to think like who in the finals would be like the smartest or like if you could hand pick a leverage piece, it's like, is it one of the ancillary like Nuggets wings that you sneak through or something?
I don't even know. It it probably would just be having. Oh, did I lose you?
I can.
My audio.
Oh, I'll vamp for a second.
No, you're good. I don't know what's
Gabe
happened there.
Vincent or Caleb Martin. I'm not even familiar with those two names. That's how deep we're going here.
Yeah, I mean, if they are there even teams that have them on this? If we scroll down, do we see any Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin?
I doubt it. There's one Gabe Vincent that was in what is this round one? So there was one team that advanced with a Gabe Vincent team. And what about a Caleb Martin? Two Caleb Martin teams. One Caleb Martin team got through to round two and then died. So that's
Yeah, and so like I don't think there's really going to be any bench guys. The Nuggets rotation it's a 7 player rotation, and you're not really getting very many fantasy points outside of kind of the main guys. I would
yeah,
say Contavious Caldwell Pope is probably the guy
yeah.
on the Nuggets side, where if
Only
you get through with
7%
him
in round three.
and he kind of goes crazy, but I don't think there's any Heat players who I guess maybe making it through with Tyler Hero on your Heat stack. He comes back and he lights the world on fire. Would be
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah. That
but doesn't feel likely.
I wonder if we are headed because of that element to a lot of like dupe scores in there with people with like the same like combos of different whatever, the same 4 to 6 Nuggets Heat players on most of the teams.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to see just how many Nugget Heat stacks exist in general. I doubt it's that many.
Yeah.
Like full. Does anyone in the chat have like someone in one of their groups who's advancing that has like a full lineup of Nuggets Heat? Because I don't think I have any in any of my semifinals.
I think I saw Chipsy had a full lineup, but was worrying about that same thing about people having some dupes. Crutches says every live team will be Jokic, Jamal, Bam, Butler, and a one-off piece. And Chipsy has that with Anthony Gordon or Aaron Gordon. I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I bet you there are not going to be that many teams that have a live set of 5 starters who like actually produce points.
yeah. Well, good luck to all of you guys in the dance finals. We'll be rooting for you. I find the drafting of those teams is still just like the funnest thing, even if the sweat isn't quite as good as like the Super Bowl sweat, where you can basically still like hope that MBS goes nuts or Kenneth Gainwell goes nuts. I think is just a little bit funner from the sweat element.
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's I think the NFL sweat is still the most fun.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, but it's fun to have something like I've been playing the dailies still, and they're fun, but it's like it's pretty monotonous at this point.
Yeah.
Like shout out to all the guys in the chat. We've been drafting the same 10 players for the last like week and a half. And it's the way that they've been doing it is since the games are every other night, you get this weird like 50-50 of so like they have a new tournament. It's done now because this one series is over. But so they had a new tournament every night, and it's that game and the game the next night. And so then the next day, you have a live tournament from the previous day that's half done, and a new tournament starting at the same.
Oh,
So each tournament has the same game, has one of the two games overlapped. And
yeah.
so you have this like, there was this really, really weird recency bias that would happen. And I noticed it, at least I noticed this, where like I was just setting projections and auto drafting. So I wasn't really I was, trying to not have recency bias of like what happened in the game the night before. But it feels like people would always be drafting for the like there was a slight bias towards the game that was that night. And so it was like
Yeah.
every other night I would have more exposure to the game the following night. And so I would always like go into a game with my live entries with like really, really poor showings. And then
Yeah.
as that game goes, get better and better.
It's
But it was weird.
the ultimate delaying of gratification. It's always the next game. They did that for the NFL ones, right? Too, where they do like Sunday night, Monday night, but then there'd be like the Monday night to Thursday night
Yeah, yeah,
gap
yeah.
one. And people always do that. I mean, even back when they used to do the Thursday to Monday, like the full span DFS contests, and the Thursday night guys, like getting in those contests and just fading the Thursday night game was always so sharp because they were just rostered at an insane clip because people are like, I just want to sweat. And like, it's like, you could just play a single game showdown contest and not get it in as bad.
Yeah, it was funny, but I mean, it's like it's actually over now. I'm curious if they do anything for the finals. I kind of think that they will. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But it was fun while it lasted. I got one last tournament win in during these conference semifinals or conference finals.
Nice. What
Now just all in on NFL.
I was going to ask how many BBM teams are you deep? Were you dabbling in the puppy? Are you maxing the poodle? Like
I mean,
what level of degeneracy are
dude,
we talking here?
the fucking poodle filled so fast.
I know.
I got
I
two
maxed it
entries
with slow drafts.
That was smart. Let's see. I mean, I've done a lot. I have 23 best ball entries done. I did two poodles. I'm currently in the Dalmatian. Oh, it's actually my pick in the Dalmatian.
I was just realizing, I'm like, oh shit, I'm on the clock in like 19 poodles right now. There's 58 seconds, but keep talking here.
Yeah, let me see. I'll do my Dalmatian right now. I'm cooking up it's a weird team, but I don't hate it. So I was pick 4, and should I just share my screen and show you guys
Yeah,
where
you
I'm at with
should.
this pick
Yeah,
right
because
now?
and then
All right,
I'll pull up my Dalmatian when you're done.
let me see if I can get this to work. Oh shit. I downloaded Arc browser, which is like the new hot browser.
What's its selling point?
It's just tech bros think it's better for some reason.
Okay.
It is. It's kind of nice. It's like it just I don't know, a little bit more opinionated about how you would browse the internet and do all this kind of stuff. All right, so here is where
Are
I'm
you
at.
using the brick draft caddy too? Nice.
I am, yeah. It's nice.
Yeah.
I have it set up with just week 17 and then the ETR ranks, and then
Yeah.
I don't input the ETR ranks because I like to still see like ADP and sort by that and have an idea, and then just have them show up here instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here's where I'm at. It's been a really weird draft. I went McCaffrey, Barkley to start, but I got Barkley pretty late, which was one of the things where like he kept falling and there weren't really any wide receivers who felt good, and so I took him.
Yeah.
And so I have a bit of an SF Washington Week 17 stack
Yep.
with Debo, Terry McLaurin, McCaffrey, Brian Robinson, who I like a lot this year, and he was slipping. I have Ayuk as well. So I think I'm at the point where I should, with 8 wide receivers, probably take someone who's not a wide receiver. Um,
I love how your queue looks like what my queue looks like in a lot of drafts. It's like, well, we need a 49er quarterback or Sam Howell, and maybe even
yeah,
both of them. Yeah.
I yeah. So I'm curious, how are you handling the 49er quarterback situation as someone who has been drafting more 49ers than I'm proud of? Um, I don't really know what I want to be doing there.
Yeah, so I honestly have been kind of avoiding it. Like I'm still stacking up Niners, like all those guys you have, CMC, IU, Kittle. I like all those guys, Mitchell. But just basically saying I don't want to take on the dead roster spot right now. And I was actually having this thought about this today because Corain was talking about it, and I do kind of agree with this. Trey Lance is one of those trippy quote unquote upside players that doesn't necessarily have late season upside, because I do really think once Purdy is healthy, it's going to be him. Whereas normally we're like, oh, say we get news that like Anthony Richardson isn't going to start the first 4 weeks, but we're still fucking jamming, or people are going to still jam
Yeah,
Anthony Richardson because they're like, oh, he'll be the playoff hammer. And Lance is this weird thing where it's like you actually want him to start early when Purdy's hurt and hopefully have like 10 big games. And then it's like, does that really help you in these contests? And then I flip to the other side and I'm like, Brock Purdy, okay, let's work under the assumption he's going to take over that job eventually. He's still not the kind of guy that's like elevating you into your lineup. He's going to be like a plus Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I've just been having a hard time getting excited about any of these quarterbacks.
yeah. I'm not super far off from that. What I've been trying to convince myself of is that they're going to trade Trey Lance, and
Yeah.
so I've just been, or basically they're going to trade one of the two. That they're going to decide who their starting quarterback is, and then like send the other one to Tampa or something.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's kind of what I've been hoping for. And so I've done a couple. I've in like the puppy, I did one where or the poodle did one where I drafted both of them. And like in the hopes that basically I'm getting the SF quarterback, but then also just getting a quarterback on some other team in the future or something.
Yeah.
Um,
And like, I'm looking at your team here. I mean, Howell definitely makes a ton of sense for this team. Is Russ already off the board for you
I
here?
think he is,
Okay.
which is too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. And I mean, you
Yeah, he
you
just went.
still
I was hoping to get him here actually.
oh, yeah.
Was
That
would have
you
been nice.
and this is the tough thing because you're loaded up at wide receiver now, where it's like it's tough for you to even take a guy like Mingo or Dubs and then like backdoor stack it, because it's like you need to worry about other positions at this point.
Yeah, yeah. What I was thinking, I could try to wait one more pick. I'll have another pick pretty soon here at 48. Um, and I could try to go like a Kyler, and I have Marquise Brown. As much as I hate Kyler as
Oh,
well.
oh yeah, dude. Kyler makes a ton of sense for this team.
Yeah,
I forgot you had Marquise.
that's who was sticking out to me. Um, and then I have been doing like I'll go with like a Mingo and end up taking Bryce Young or something.
Do you know the nice thing about the Kyler pick for you on this build is then because you have 0 tight ends, like Trey McBride becomes a screaming target too.
Yeah, I've been doing that too. If I end up in these kind of drafts, and I've just been like, I don't know, lately I've found myself in a lot of drafts ending up starting with like two running backs in my first three picks just because everyone's taking wide receivers, and it's like, okay, do I want Derrick Henry 10 picks after his ADP, or do I want to take,
Yeah.
a guy like Debo or something?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just like, all right, fuck it, I'll have Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry, and then not draft a running back for a really long time.
Yeah.
Uh, and in those, I've been finding myself doing a lot of just like late quarterback stacks with their tight ends,
Okay. Yeah, I like
where
that.
it's like all right, these tight ends are like pretty low, low upside plays anyways, and I'll do like three quarterbacks with three of their tight ends, and none of them are super early picks or anything. If I'm not getting one of those high
Yeah.
guys, um,
I'll pull up my Dalmation team. I kind of like this one. I've gotten a bit of a generally like a more sexy team than I'm able to get
mhm.
on stream. I went Justin Fields and Dak Prescott. Dak fell like 14 picks after ADP, while I had CD Lamb and Brandon Cooks already.
Oh
And
wow,
then with Fields, I was able to get Darnell Mooney at pick 131. And because I just like wasn't forcing any stacks with him, I went ahead and took Jonathan Taylor, Jameer Gibbs, and then I bought the dip on Javonte Williams. He fell all the way to pick 110. So I like that room. Jonathan
Was that
Taylor
before
gives.
his injury news? That was his
Yes,
positive injury news, I should say.
exactly. And then, JSN, because I was kind of behind going elite QB and a Dallas Goedert pick and 2 early running backs, I was like just having to hammer wide receiver. So went JSN for late season upside, got the Dallas bet with Cooks, Rashad Bateman, and then Darnell Mooney. And so I'm just going to be like very heavy wide receiver clicks like the rest of the way just to kind of
Yeah.
make up for it with quantity. But for the Dalmation, which is just obviously much smaller advance rate stuff, I'm a little more comfortable just loading up on wide receiver quantity.
Yeah. I mean, that obviously has been my strategy considering I drafted like 7 wide receivers in a row. So,
Yeah. Yeah, these are fun. I need to hop in a Bulldog as well here pretty soon.
yeah, same. I haven't done any yet.
Yeah, Dalmatian is, man, for all slows, 76%, pretty good. Bulldog at max 12 entries. I'm definitely not doing that, but I might get 1 or
No.
2 in here.
How many
soon.
PBM4s have you done?
So, of course, famously, all of them on stream. I'm now
Yeah.
26 deep, so over a sixth of the
Nice.
way. Sixth of the
Do you
way
have
through there.
any teams that you've done that feel like better or that stood out to you?
Well, I did finally get some zero RB drafts going, which felt good. Because I hadn't been able to do a lot of zero RB drafts early because just like you said, I was in so many rooms where all the wide receivers were going early. I
Mm-hmm.
did this one on Monday's stream where I did the very controversial. I did so many like quote unquote controversial things in this one. I took 2 Chicago running backs, 2 Miami running backs, and 2 tight ends with the same bye week. But I got this Fields and Tua team, and I got Fields at pick 45 and DJ Moore at 52. So like a 4th, 5th round Fields instead of the 3, 4 Fields.
Yeah.
So that felt
Is
really
it
good.
Miami, Chicago, week 17?
No, Miami,
No.
Baltimore, Chicago,
Right.
Atlanta.
Okay. Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my favorite team. Now that you say that, I got a Miami, Baltimore, week 17 game stack with Lamar and Tua. That is like kind of crazy. I have Tua, Hill, and Waddle, Lamar, Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman. It was a zero RB. It's my first running back I
Oh,
drafted
nice.
was Devin Achane, or however you say his last name. But
I was
that was a team that I felt fun about. Oh, good.
I was just looking at the box score coincidentally today. I was like in the Fantasy Life Discord doing an AMA and talking about like correlation. And I pulled this up as an example about, and granted, this game happened early in the season in September, but I was reviewing the box score of that 42-38 game.
I forgot
And it
about that one.
was so nuts. Tua 6 TDs. The running backs literally at a 42 game, and the highest yardage was 51 yards, but Tyreek 190 and 2, Waddle 171 and 2, Gesicki 41 and 1. And then you go check out the Ravens. Lamar 3 TDs passing, 119 yards, 1 TD rushing. Bateman 108 yards in a TD. Andrews 104 yards in a TD. And I was like, this is why correlation matters, because if you land on this game in week 17 and you got a chunk of that, you're gonna get
You're
first
sitting
place.
pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. I've been finding myself taking a lot of. It's too bad Jack isn't here to hear this. I've been taking a lot of Lamar.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about him. I don't know. I think it's a little bit surprising that he's not. I don't know. I could very well see him ending up finishing in kind of an even tier with those 3 quarterbacks who are going consistently above him in Hurts, Mahomes, and Allen,
Yeah.
assuming he stays healthy. There's no reason that he couldn't kind
The
of finish in that same tier.
The other thing about it too is like I think you could argue that like Lamar is pretty fairly priced, like you're not getting a huge discount on him. But I do think you can say all of his pass catching options, like Mark Andrews is much cheaper than he was last year. Bateman's
Mm-hmm.
absurdly cheap. I guess you could say Zay Flowers is pricey or efficient, but there's like even the backfield, J.K. Dobbins is cheap, Gus is free. Isaiah Likely is a fun stack option if you get shut out on Andrews. Like they're a super fun team to stack from a price perspective.
That's who I took likely in this Miami Baltimore team. He's
Nice.
a guy where he's to me he's a really high injury upside guy. I like doing that with tight ends as well. I don't know. I feel like tight end is so weird this year. where there's
Yeah.
like three tight ends you feel good at the top of the draft, and then I don't know. I'm still scared of whatever Pitts is going to be. I guess maybe four. I like Goddard as well. I'm still scared of Pitts a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
and then like the early hundreds and stuff, it's just a bunch of unknowns where it's like, do I really want Dalton Schultz or like whatever else is going on, or do I want to just use like my last three picks and take a Mike Gesicki or a Hunter Henry and Isaiah Likely and kind of guys who might have more upside versus like some of those other tight ends or rookie tight ends who've been going really high.
Yeah, I forget. Someone was in my comments telling me a stat about the Patriots. I think they were just saying that they're like the cheapest stack or the team with the least amount of players going in the top 150. Because you have Ramondre and then everyone else is free. I think the Rams were the only team close where you have Cooper Kupp, Akers, and then everyone else is super cheap. But man, the Patriots are like this year's backstop where if you get shut out, Tyquan Thornton's there. One of the tight ends are there. Mac Jones is always there.
Yeah.
Like there's so much you can
Get
do.
crazy, draft Pierre Strong if you need to. Who knows?
Yeah,
James Robinson.
I know. Yeah, it'll be. How many BBMs did you say you're at?
23. But
Okay.
there have been a couple. I did one this morning where I like legitimately forgot that I had entered it. and and I'm like, I would go, oh fuck. I forgot I was like I entered it and there was like 2 out of 12 and I got distracted doing other stuff, came back
Uh-oh.
in, and so like I actually if you just ignore there's like no stacking or correlation, but like I actually don't think the team is that bad. It's a Lamar Jackson and Tua team, but no other
Okay.
players on their team. This was all auto picked. And then it was like ended up going Devontae Adams, Austin Eckler, first two picks. Just kind of ended up like when I opened it up, I had drafted two quarterbacks, two tight ends, and five wide receivers and like five running backs and three wide receivers, and it was like the 12th round or whatever. And so I was like, you know what, I'm not going to waste my time drafting this, but I just starred the next like 50 wide receivers, and it was just like only pick wide
Just only
receivers,
wide receivers.
fill out my team.
Well, I do think that is, I talked about this last year too, when ADP at the end of the drafting season got super efficient, that I was like, and this was also before quarterbacks were going super early. And I was like, you could legit auto draft your first 5 picks and come in and draft really good teams, like with
Mm-hmm.
no structural issues. This year it's tougher because you could get stuck with like a Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, like start, or like something weird where you're just like structurally you're too far behind. But in general, like, you could probably miss a pocket of the draft and still be completely fine.
Yeah, I've had that a couple times too, where you get distracted, miss like two picks, and come back, and you're like, oh, that's who I would have taken anyways.
Uh,
That worked out okay.
well, what you're describing though, the accidentally misclicking that. So with my whole bit of having to stream all 150 drafts, that's my nightmare because I've already played this scenario out in my head where I fat finger it on the app and I have to go fire up a stream in like 5 minutes to stream the draft. Where I'm just like shotgun stream, no
You're like,
thumbnail. I just
yeah,
hastily go live and get the link out and be like, guys, I accidentally clicked it. It's above board. You didn't see my first pick, but trust me, we're streaming. Like, I feel
you're
like
like
there's
in
a
the bathroom at a
non-zero
restaurant
chance.
at dinner.
Oh God. Yeah. It might happen because you know how it goes. Like sometimes in your app, you're just like clicking on a tournament. Sometimes I'll check the fill rate on Best Ball Mania or whatever. And I'm like, God, I'm hovering over the button and I could
Mm-hmm.
have to run to my desk right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm excited to keep going on. My plan now, I'm trying to not do quite as many, just to slow down. I don't want to get overzealous and do all 150 over like way too short of a period of time. So I'll probably try to just do them like when I'm doing cardio or something. But I
Yeah.
feel like I'm not at peak performance when I'm drafting while I'm doing cardio, which is
Yeah.
something that I'm trying to reconcile. As I'm like exhausted and try to like not die, and I'm like, fuck, what's the week 17 matchup again? I'm on my cell phone. I don't have the
It,
thing up in
it,
front of me.
it is funny because cardio club's going right now. Of course, make sure you guys check that out. But it is something, to your point, that's a little easier to do later in the drafting season where you just have everything memorized. These draft boards inside and out, and it's the ultimate distraction. Whereas right now, there's still like a familiarity factor to the draft board where it's like I might be a little uncomfortable multitasking like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely am like still getting used to it, or I'll have times where it's just like basically what I'll do is if I'm like in a tough spot like that, I just take best player available who's a skill position player.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I don't totally remember what's going on, whatever. But Purdy throwing next week, courtesy of
Oh,
sources by Brent Ross.
all right, Brent. Don't I swear if you're one of these guys that comes into my streams with the false Purdy information, and there are many of them. Real quick, Andy, before we wind down here, I know you've had some big moves here lately. You talked a little bit about it on Twitter of, unfortunately shuttering some of your companies here. I wanted to give you a chance to kind of let people know, because I know a lot of people cared and have been really enjoying kind of following along. Even, we started the club, like Fractional wasn't even live yet. So it's like,
Yeah,
it's
I
been
know.
quite a journey between that and the name change, to Sarah and all this stuff. So let the people know kind of what's been going on recently.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was a hard choice, but we just like we're taking a hard look in the mirror at kind of the company and how much money we were making and how much money we would have to make in order for it to make sense and kind of all of that. And I think one of the big things that we were thinking about is just like the value of our time, our employees' time, and people's money and kind of everything. And just like, is this really the thing that we want to be grinding on for the next 3 years and try to figure it out? And are we confident that it like makes sense to have this be what people are spending time on? And it was something that was brought up to us from some investors originally of like, hey, have you thought about this? And originally I was like very apprehensive, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what, maybe I like am actually pretty open to this idea and kind of having more free time and doing this stuff. I've been having a lot of fun doing Underdog and like taking daily fantasy more seriously again and stuff, and just like having more freedom of time to do what I want.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a hard decision, and it definitely didn't come lightly. Uh, and I really enjoyed what we were working on, and I thought it was really fun. But it's just like the numbers didn't necessarily add up when it was like, okay, how do we turn this into a? We also raised money kind of in the peak of NFT mania, and it's like, how do we turn this into a company that's worth the valuation that we raised our money at? And that didn't seem super clear, even in a world where we were profitable.
Yeah.
And so made the choice, and kind of it is what it is. And we're still in the process of winding things down and doing all of that. So I'm like technically still employed and doing everything there. But yeah, it was definitely a hard choice, but it's one that I'm pretty at peace with personally. Just like I think it's best to probably take some time off of Twitter and not shit post and all that. I do have an alt account that I've been using that no one knows about.
You're pulling the Kobe. Doesn't he always have the alt accounts that he then runs up on the side where people then try to
Yeah,
guess what it is?
I've
Yeah.
got an alt account I'm on, and I'm like I'm still gonna make stuff, and I'm already like hacking on some projects and doing things. But we did it at a time and like from a financial position where we still had a lot of the money that we raised, and so we were able to give our employees generous severance packages, and that I'm spending a ton of time now connecting people with different companies. So anyone who's watching this, if you're hiring people and need developers or other people, I've got a team of people who are really great, and it lets us give back a lot of money to our investors and kind of maintain those relationships and everything. And so it was a hard choice, but I think it was definitely the right choice. And it's funny, I think one of the things that I learned over the last 2 years is I really don't like managing people and a lot of the non like building cool shit with your friends parts that come from running a 25-person company.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely something that's been like really nice, and has been like honestly a bit of a breath of fresh air, is just like being able to take a step back from that and think about what was the stuff that I really did like doing with this, what did I not like, and then kind of go forward from there. And so I don't really know what's going to be next. I've been telling people that I'm hopeful that I can stay unemployed for a long time, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, knowing you and how you're wired, you're going to find some problem to solve, something to work on. I mean, I feel like just the way your brain is, it's not wired to just chill out for a while. Like that, you're gonna throw yourself into something.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely do something, but with a lot more lessons learned than 2 years ago when I started fractional. So
It,
I'm excited for what's
is
what's
it
to come.
was it like Is it as simple as just like this is, the downside of a bear market? Whereas like if it wasn't for the bear market, if things had held a little bit more, that you would be still chugging along, or were there kind of even more things beyond that that weren't going to make it sustainable long term, and the bear market just kind of helped accelerate that clarity for you?
I think it's hard to say. I think like, if it was Nifty Gateway 2021 on Escher, like we would have been fine. Probably would have been okay. I think we definitely had some like structural issues in the company of just like moving a little bit too slow, and different like challenges that you have as you're like scaling out a company. Um, but I think the bear market definitely made us like really really consider our future. But it's hard to say. I think like there's a world where it's a you know crypto art bull run. The cat is currently scratching our new couch. Don't do that, Larry. It's like
Come on, Larry.
yeah, come on. It's like a
Bear
crypto
market. We
bull
can't be
run,
buying a
and
new couch, Larry.
yeah, no, no. Where it's like a crypto bull run, and we make $50 million, and then all of a sudden it's just like not something we think about, and who knows, or get acquired or whatever else. I think if things were different, we probably would have at least considered alternate paths. But at the end of the day, I think like it was what was best for us, based
Yeah.
on where we were at.
And even just from the outside, like there's so much of in bull runs, right? I mean, on the extreme end of it, you have scams, but even a lot of ideas are like smash and grab projects. Like, how do we extract as much money from the ecosystem right now? Strike while the iron's hot. Tons of companies, tons of projects did that. And like to give you guys credit, like you guys always took, like whenever you would talk about fractional or Tessera and kind of like your ideas, even Escher, like this was a very almost like slow burn, like we're playing for the much longer view in a way that probably was detrimental just from like a cash perspective of like,
Mhm.
yeah, there were so many, like Andy, you just even being able to code up NFT projects, you could have made so much money, being like some beanie version out there with like hopping from project to project.
Yeah.
And to your credit, like you didn't do that. And it's sad that some of the projects that actually had longevity, that wanted to reward creators and build long-standing ecosystems, like that wasn't rewarded in this specific market.
Yeah, it definitely is too bad, but I think it was also like a good lesson to be learned that, you know, if if there's a lot of money to be made, with in like the within reason versions of that, you should probably try to.
Mm.
And so I think like if I had it to do over again, we would have just like had some more fees on the stuff that we were doing, and if people wanted to still use it, we would have, made some money. And so I think it was I think it's a combination of, it's like the market doesn't necessarily reward the people who want to build the right stuff, but also just like being more cognizant of the market and how intense swings can be, and when there is a period of time where you can make money, you should really be like taking advantage of it when it comes to having fees on your apps and different things like that.
Like more macro, like where is your bullishness on say crypto in general versus, like ETH ecosystem in general versus like drilling down to NFTs specifically? Have your kind of convictions on those wavered?
I would say a little bit. I think that like NFTs are just going to have a hard time for a while, just because I think like most of the new innovation that we're going to see over the next couple of years is not going to be NFTs. Uh, it'll be ETH scaling solutions and different things, and I don't know, these like the cycles can be pretty intense, and so I think that we still have probably more to go when it comes to a lot of these NFT projects, especially like the utility, like PFP projects and stuff. I think that a lot of those will probably like never come back.
Hmm.
But I think that like the real collectible stuff we've seen, like generative art, has actually done pretty well this week. After that, one of Three Arrow Capital's first like big liquidation auctions, and so I don't know. I think that there'll definitely be some like digital collectibles that do continue to do well. But I would say like at this exact moment, I'm more bullish on more like intense crypto native stuff than I am like Starbucks NFTs or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And is there, obviously, what's the best way that, you'll be on the club, stuff on Twitter if people want to find your alt account, which Anthony thinks is Andy8053, which would actually just be a hilarious alt account. Andy,
Yeah,
where
it would
can
have been
people,
funny.
keep tabs on next steps, or if people want to reach out about stuff for, maybe some of your former coworkers and stuff like that, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, I'm still Andy8052 on everything on Twitter. I'm private right now, but I'll be public again soon. And on Telegram, if you want to reach out to me there. I will not tell you my alt account's name, but who knows? Maybe one day you'll run into it. It's very small. It does not have very many followers because I haven't told anyone who it is. It's me, other than Allie. Allie's the only person who I've told that it's my alt account, but she doesn't follow me. So good luck finding it.
There you
but
go.
yeah, I'll still be around. I'll be back to shit posting on Twitter at some point soon.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I know a lot of people were anxious for an update, and appreciated you doing that. We will hopefully be back. I know Jennings wanted to swing by. Jennings is chomping at the bit. My guess is he won't be able to pass on coming by when the Nuggets are in the NBA Finals, if he's not too busy woodpecking there.
I think so.
All right. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day. This is the club. We're here every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Tuesday. Sorry. Why I'm completely thrown off. Tuesdays at 4:30. And I am debuting tomorrow another special edition of Best Ball Breakfast. So I've been doing those on Mondays at 10 a.m. I'm now going to add a Wednesday show. And those are going to always feature the same two guests, Pat Crane, defending Best Ball Mania 3 champ, and Sean Siegel, the godfather of Zero RB, my favorite fantasy analyst over at RotoViz. So I'm going to be drafting back-to-back with those guys every Wednesday. Super excited for that. So if you guys didn't get your drafting fix today, you can tune in tomorrow. And Andy and I were even talking before the show, and we're going to get some drafts going on the club again here soon, maybe even next week. So appreciate you guys all. Good luck in the dance on Underdog and all of your contests. Enjoy the